with the second overall pick. The Texans are on the board. I had them taking Bryce Young, who you compared to Steph Curry and Patrick Mahomes, which makes our buddy Pete Prisco very angry.
Mahomes style. Please get it right, because Pete just screws everything up. He doesn't listen half the time. But
all right, so you're old school.
If the number 2 overall pick, I mean, even Ryan Wilson can get this one right.
Yo. So explain to me.
No-brainer.
So you're old school. You don't like your quarterbacks to be 5'10", less than 190 pounds. So once again, sell Texas fans on Bryce Young.
Because I think he has enough unique ability to be the exception to the rule. I understand the size limits, but he plays a lot bigger than his size. He has excellent anticipation skills. He's got great movement in the pocket, a natural feel for the pocket. He is an anticipatory thrower, which means he throws the ball a lot of times to a spot before the receiver gets open. And sometimes we even refer that to as throwing the receiver open. So if he's in a man coverage situation and let's say he's running a 7 route or a flag route where he's going up 10 yards and maybe breaking it off at a 45-degree angle, heading towards the flag or the corner, he can throw it. If he sees that there's a safety coming over the top, he will actually underthrow him a little bit and guide him more towards the sidelines. And that's what we refer to as throwing a guy open. That's just one example. And I think he has a unique ability to do that. And the thing that still fascinates me, and I can't understand how he sees through all the offensive linemen and how well he sees downfield with his vision on guys open. He's just, I think, a unique prospect. And if he wasn't whatever he's going to be, I don't even want to curse him on what I think his measurables will be. But let's say he was a Trevor Lawrence size or something like that. This would be a generational type quarterback.
So let me ask you this. When the owner comes to you and says, I'm nervous about taking a small quarterback, what does the general manager say to that? Because it's one thing for me, rando media guy, to say Bryce Young should go as QB1. It's another thing when you have to answer to an owner who is paying tens of millions of dollars in this investment.
Yeah, well, you're going to tell them all the positives. You're going to tell them all the negatives. Usually ownership is always going to refer, and the Will family that I worked with, who I have the utmost respect for, always referred to the people who had that area of expertise with the coaching, with the personnel, everything like that. They would ask questions like you just proposed. We would tell them what we were thinking and why we were thinking and why we think this was the right person to pick.
Okay, before we move on to another pick that you absolutely loved, I want to mention this quickly. Our colleague Jason Lockenford tweeted this out earlier in the week. He said during Senior Bowl week, he talked to more than one general manager who thought that Justin Fields might be traded. Now, that's interesting for a couple reasons. Justin Fields just finished year 2. He showed some progress, but obviously he was injured because he took a lot of hits. Also, the Bears have the first overall pick, by the way, that the final Week 18 played out for both them and the Texans. Just, you being Rick Spielman media guy now, but also based on all your 30 years of experience, would you want to move on from Justin Fields not knowing what's behind door number 2?
No, because you don't know what you're getting behind door number 2 unless you have that stronger conviction. If one of these quarterbacks are Peyton Manning or one of these quarterbacks, but if you look at, did everyone know that Josh Allen was going to be Josh Allen 3 years from now? Did anyone know that if Patrick Mahomes was playing like Patrick Mahomes, he would have been the first pick off the board? So you don't know, but you do know what you have in your building. And if you believe that he is your guy, and if you can build pieces around him, then that's going to give you an opportunity for your team to have success and for Fields to have success. But if you trade him, okay, and he goes on and plays very well somewhere else, then you're going to be, and your guy that you picked number 1 overall doesn't play that same level, you're probably going to be
working at CBS Sports HQ.
CBS Sports HQ.
Okay. Well, also the other issue is that you're not able to trade down, which I think you agree that's your primary focus. If you had the number 1 overall pick, you can't get the offensive lineman. You can't build around Justin Fields. Now you've gotten rid of Justin Fields. Maybe you get something in return. It won't be commiserate, but then you have to get that rookie quarterback that you're talking about.
And if you do that, then what are you doing to help that rookie quarterback? You did nothing to help Justin Fields last year. I mean, name
Exactly.
one receiver that he had. I mean, they traded late for Chase Claypool that ended up getting injured, and they got a couple pretty good running backs. But other than that, can you name anyone on that roster that you would say, God, I would love to have this guy on our roster?
All right, one last thing about Justin Fields. He said on Pardon My Take, the podcast a few days ago, that he doesn't like playing in cold weather and he wants Chicago to build a dome. If you're in the front office in Chicago and you hear that from your quarterback who grew up in Georgia but played at Ohio State where it's not warm, are you like, okay, whatever, that's just a 24-year-old spouting off? Or are you reading more into that? Do you call him and ask him, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, no, you just sit there, and it's more having some PR savvy on what
Right.
you're actually saying. Sure, I mean, every kicker, every punter, every quarterback would love to play in a dome, but there is no question that he has enough arm talent. He has all the physical skills to play in an outdoor stadium like that. And that can be a huge competitive advantage as well when you play in an outdoor stadium. Like Green Bay, I think, has a huge competitive
Yeah.
advantage. Buffalo has a huge competitive advantage. So, and not to digress here a little bit, but I don't know if and I'm saying this as a Bryce Young would be as successful if he was in one of those environments rather than in Houston in their dome stadium and playing in the South.
Yeah, no, and that's a fair concern. I would imagine you talk about analytics all the time. That's something that goes into your big computer machine from the 50s, like that. You have a whole room dedicated to computers to determine whether a player fits your system or not. Part of that is probably, he's a California kid. Bryce Young is obviously played in Alabama, and maybe that's something that you have to consider playing outdoors in Green Bay or Chicago or Buffalo when you're taking a quarterback.